You have bought this video with a certain purpose, perhaps out of curiosity, but most likely because you want to learn something, and you want to learn something for making your marketing more effective. Now, to make your marketing more effective, you will have to find out what makes marketing more effective, and what better way is there than making a benchmarking approach, comparing to yourself to the best competitors in your field or in other fields to find out where you rank. Are you better than they are, or just as good, or you're not as good? Then you can do two things. One is to do the same, but do it better. But of course, if you march in the footsteps of somebody else, you can't overtake him. So maybe there's another way, and that other way, and both are valid, but the second one is more creative and requires more from you. And that is called bench breaking. And bench breaking means to do something totally different in order to reach perhaps the same goal or even a superior goal. Now, how are we going to proceed? You're going to get 12 guidelines for your organizational effectiveness, for competitive power. These are 12 areas in which you should score, and you should score, if possible, better than your competitors, and what is even more important, according to the expectations of your customer. For each one of those 12 points, you can attribute your present way of doing things worth a minimum of 1 point and a maximum of 5 points. You should have a performance record, a scoreboard next to you, so you can note all the time as you go along what your score in this area is. So you would get 1 point for, let's start out with the positive one. You would get 1 point if you are outstanding in this area, unrivaled. 4 points if you are very good. 3 points if you're just acceptable. 2 points if you judge yourself to be poor in that area. And 1 point if what you do is either worthless or non-existent. If there are several sub-points, you divide up the sub-points, and then obviously you create the average. And with this approach, at the end of our sequence, with those 12 guidelines, the 12 areas that we're going to cover, you get a pretty good picture of where you stand and where you should stand, compared to the best in industry practice, compared to your own expectations, and compared to your ambitious goals to become better and better in view of the future competitive situation. So let's start with area number 1. And area number 1 consists of 2 questions which you should answer to the best of your knowledge. So have your scoreboard ready, have your pen ready. Question number 1. Are you really aware of your market and customers? Do you know what their real buying motives are and their essential demands, today's and tomorrow's? Sounds like an easy question. It's probably the most difficult question that anyone can ask, because sometimes you don't know tomorrow's market. Most of you have a Walkman, or your children have a Walkman. Do you know in what way that was invented or that came about? Well, Mr. Morita saw his daughter use a tape recorder in order to use it for music that she was supposed to play or that she wanted to play indoors when she worked and also outdoors when she walked. So Morita thought that maybe that would be a good idea to produce one that was no longer a tape recorder, but what is now known as a Walkman. No statistics will tell you that. There's a certain amount of creativity that is needed. You know, the telephone book is full of facts, but it doesn't contain a single idea. Therefore, you have to mobilize ideas, and you have to find out what people want. For instance, all of you, or many of you, know what Nescafe is. Now, Nescafe was sold everywhere in the world under the same idea. It's convenient, it's tasteful, it's easy to make, and it's not expensive. In Japan, it didn't work, and Nestle was ready to give up Nescafe for Japan when someone in Japan, one of the employees, had the idea that maybe we should say Nescafe is being used by young people, young, modern, dynamic people all over the world. They use it in New York, they use it in Paris, in London, in Stockholm, in Rome, etc. And suddenly Nescafe became popular in Japan. Market research told tea producers that tea bags in England would never work because the English were used to make tea in a totally different way. Now the tea bags in England, or England, has the biggest tea bag market in the whole of Europe and one of the biggest in the world. You all know probably, or some of you at least, know the story behind Coca Light. You know, there was regular Coke, and Coca-Cola made an inquiry at the survey what people would like, whether they would like something else, and whether they would like a lighter drink with less sugar in it, etc. And all the evidence pointed out that people wanted the new Coke, wanted the new brand. So they gave up the traditional Coke, made a new brand, and it was a flop. And there were lots of protests by people who said, how can we give up such a good product? Because taste is not the only thing that counts. There was a whole culture connected with habits and connected with drinking Coke that people had forgotten. You know, may know that most people, especially men, dream of convertible cars, but when it comes to buying cars, they buy station wagons. There's even a saying that says that gentlemen prefer blondes but marry brunettes. That perhaps is true, or perhaps it's not. You may know that, or you will find out. Supermarkets in Germany, for instance, there was a survey made whether people like supermarkets. And the reply was 70% of the people were dissatisfied with supermarkets. So they thought, what do we do with supermarkets? Then they asked the second question, do you want supermarkets to disappear? There were 74% who said, no, they shouldn't disappear. Now, of course, that's not very logical. But if you want to find out about consumer behavior, you should not be logical. There is not necessarily any logic in what they tell you. So in one way, you have to look at customers through binoculars. But we always look the wrong way, because we look at our way. The customer sees it this way. Or sometimes we think that there are small things, and we look at it this way, but the customer thinks that they're very important, so they look at it in another way. Try and figure yourself as someone who tries to put on binoculars for seeing the things that customers want the same way as customers do. Now that's number one. Therefore, you must know their real buying motive and essential demand, not just a possible demand. There could be costly mistakes. If you make that mistake, IBM went wrong in trying to find out what customers of big frame computers wanted, and they found that out, but that was the wrong category of customers, because in the future, everybody wanted small computers, and there came the PC, the personal computer, where IBM had taken a beating, and it took them a long time to catch up on their competitors. The second part of this question, still under Area 1, is how do we detect every business opportunity that presents itself? And can we act with sufficient speed and flexibility in order to exploit such opportunities? Just two examples and two possibilities. The people who are most likely to find out quickly about what customers want are salespeople, because they're in constant contact with the market. But they are not objective, so you may have to interpret what they say and what they let you know. Service people are another excellent source of information, because they get into places where even salespeople don't get into, and they get much more intimate with the customer's way of using your product. Next thing in this connection is that you have to be very fast. And Morita of Sony said, just make it, test it, and sell it. You don't always have the time to make a market study, especially not on products that don't exist. And here's another point that is important. You make an advertising campaign, or you ask people to write to you in ads, in brochures, etc. Write for more information. Now, if your interest of a product at a certain given time, once you say, okay, I'm interested in that product, let's say that is today, and it is 100% today, where do you think it is tomorrow? Do you think it's still at 100%? Or would you agree that tomorrow it is perhaps at 80%? Where is it tomorrow, day after tomorrow? It's no longer at 80, it's 70%. What about 4 days later or a week later? A week later, people might not even remember that they had asked for an inquiry, or that they asked for a quotation, or they put an inquiry in order to know more about the product. And therefore, your whole advertising effect is wasted if you cannot follow up immediately, that's to say, the same day as you launch any kind of publicity. And with the internet system, with all our technological devices, with our possibilities for fax and email and whatever you call it, all of that is easy, but you must do it. Don't waste time and opportunities and a lot of money by just being too late. Find out where you stand. And the small companies may be more in a position than the big ones, because the small ones will be flexible. They are much more flexible than the big ones. The big ones have power, but perhaps they are not that flexible. There was a saying at Chicago Airport, and it said on a big billboard, big enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Maybe you can imitate it. And what can you do in order to be so fast that you overtake your competitors? Now with these two, part 1 and part 2 questions, this ends area number 1. So give yourself the average score on these 2 items. Are you at 5? Are you at 4? Are you at 3? Are you at 2? Are you at 1? If you are below 3, you must definitely do something to raise your score to above 3. Otherwise, you will not be able to compete successfully in tomorrow's market. The second area of your concern deals with your internal communication, your internal relationships in order to achieve synergy. Let's imagine that one of your salespeople in Buenos Aires gets a lead or gets an idea about something that could be useful for a salesperson that you may have in Sao Paulo. For instance, the opening of a new office. How can you make sure that this information gets to your salesperson in Sao Paulo? What do you do to create this kind of synergy inside the company, that everybody feels concerned about everybody else and forwards these leads, this information to the person concerned? Because that is perhaps the secret of companies that are able to mobilize all internal resources. If you want to do it in a constructive way, you have to go further than just thinking about the organization of it. There must be some reward for the person, not only who concludes the business, but also the one who gives the lead, who gives the information. Everybody asks himself or herself, according to that famous radio station, WIIFM, which means, what's in it for me? And that's a station everybody listens to, everybody looks at, and everybody is interested. So find out how you can make sure that all information, all leads, all intelligence goes from one source to the other to where it is needed and where it will help you to achieve an extra sale. Now score yourself on this issue also and determine how many points you deserve in this area. I can tell you that most companies fall very short of even 3 points. They're ranked about 2 and sometimes even 1. So it may be easy for you to get a big advantage over your competitors in this area. The third area deals with the market. Do you know what your customers buy elsewhere that they could also buy from you? Because there may be a great margin of profit that just goes astray or just doesn't go your way. It is, as you know, easier to sell to a customer. You have to sell him more than to find a new customer to buy from you. Now your salespeople will, for good or bad reasons, overestimate their part in the customer's purchase. So it is safe to assume that the part that goes elsewhere is bigger than you think, or that your salesman may even state to you. So get enough information to make, number 1, to make sure you know how much goes elsewhere, and 2, to give enough of an incentive to the customer to buy from you rather than to buy it from somebody else. So please take your scoreboard and rate where you stand on this issue number 3. Question 4 is concerned with your knowledge of the market, competitors, and customers. How much do your salespeople know about customer projects over the next, say, 18 months? How much do you know, or they know, about competitors' actions? And what feedback does management get from all this information? The 4th area, in fact, is subdivided into 3 sub-areas, and they deal with our knowledge about our customers and also about our competitors. Salespeople obviously know a lot about their customers, but they pretend that marketing people often don't know the first thing about customers. Some even go as far as saying that marketing people have never met a customer in their life. So make sure that there's a better contact between your organization and the market. So sub-question number 1 is, what do your sales and marketing people know about your customers' projects over the next, say, 18 months? In some cases, it may be 12 months. Some cases it may be 12 weeks. Some cases it may even be longer than 1 year. This is a matter of utmost concern because on that you can base your future strategy. The future strategy will obviously have to do with your customers' plans and projects. So, question, what do we know about our customers' projects during the first 18 months, next 18 months? Second question, what do we know about competitors' actions? What do they do? What is our link with customers? And especially, what are their links with customers? We obviously always say, our salespeople always say, well, we have very good relations with our customers. Maybe they have, but maybe also your competitors have equally good relations. You must find out about what your competitors do and possibly find that out before anybody else does. That, again, is intelligence work, not spying, but intelligence work, which is part of the duty of salespeople. They're not only sellers, they're also information gatherers. Obviously, none of that information is any good to you if it stays for the sales and marketing people. Therefore, you must make sure that this information gets into your hands, which means into the hands of management. That's very easy. You just have some card on which they put their notes, or you use a modern electronic device on which some notes are being put down according to what your sales people find out about the market, about customers, and about competitors. So the feedback is then the basis of future action. Now score what you think your operations in this area deserve. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, or even more. Be honest with yourself. It only helps you to face reality. Why excess satisfaction? Because customers who are satisfied might want to find out whether they wouldn't get even more satisfied elsewhere and may be looking for other sources of supply. You need to supply over-satisfaction, excess satisfaction, perhaps even more than that. How do you get people to become enthusiastic about what they get from you? When you over-satisfy or overestimate or fulfill their expectations. So measure the degree of customer satisfaction. One way, of course, is to find out how often they buy from you. Another one is to find out what is the total business that you are doing with them. Another one is the length of business relations, the depth and the quantity of relations you have. Rank 0 rates 3 factors in customer excess satisfaction. question. How satisfied are you? And they want to hear more than satisfied. Would you recommend us to some of your friends? And they would like to have the answer yes, and they will then go on saying to whom. And third, when are you ready to buy from us again? And of course, they would like to hear now immediately. So whatever measurement you take, make sure that there is something in which you really measure, control and measure and estimate excess satisfaction, so that you're sure that your customers will buy from you also in the future. For that, you need, and we're coming to the fourth sub-area, you need a customer complaint management, a loyalty management, or an excess satisfaction management. That is an institution which deals with dealing with customers' attitudes after a satisfied purchase, but also after a non-satisfactory purchase. There's a bit of statistics which is easy to understand and easy to follow, and that is that if you estimate that the cost of keeping a customer is 100%, to win back a customer, a disappointed one, or win back a customer who is disappointed, so keep a customer, if you put that at 100%, to win a new customer will be, the effort and cost will be in the area of 500%. Winning back a disappointed customer will cost you 11 times that effort. It is estimated at 1100%. Now, customers who are satisfied will rebuy. That is quite obvious. They will also recommend you to others. That is also obvious. But what is not so obvious is that the rate of information they give to their friends when they are not satisfied is about 2.5 to 3.5 times more than once they are satisfied. A satisfied customer will tell 3 other people about his experience. A non-satisfied customer will report this to at least 3 to 8 people. So there is a source of information and a source of challenge for you in order to make sure that you don't get dissatisfied customers. And one more thing, if you make it difficult for people to complain, they will obviously tell other people about it. It may be better for you that you have a complaint management whereby customers come to you and freely complain to you. How do you think if a relationship of 10 customers who are dissatisfied, how many will report it back to a company if there is no special satisfaction management? Perhaps 1 out of 10. Perhaps 1 out of 10. Now that's dangerous, not the 1 out of 10 who report. But what about the 9 who don't report? Because they are obviously free to tell others about their bad experience. So a complaint management, an excess satisfaction management, and a loyalty management is one of the major cornerstones of creating a real relationship marketing, which means also that you're not only concerned about every single transaction, but you're concerned about its effect on the standing, if possible, a lifelong relationship with that customer. Now make your estimation of where you rate in those 4 sub-areas, put in the points, divide them by 4, and then you have a rating. And if in that rating you get 4 points, you're going to be congratulated. You're really doing well. Question 6 is again a question that falls into 4 subchapters, equally important. When have we last added valid benefits to our offer to create additional customer value? Let me stress the word additional customer value. There's no point in adding benefits that the customer does not perceive as additional value. And it's not we who are going to judge, it's the customer who is going to judge whether what we offer has an additional value. How are we continuously improving our customer service? Continuously, something that the airlines, the good airlines, the Swiss Airs, the Lufthansa, and others are in a position to every 3 months they are going to introduce, they are introducing new valid benefits. And therefore, you may also have to consider how to improve your customer service. Let's assume that your products are very much alike the products that are offered by competitors. Therefore, on the hard side, on the hard value side, you have nothing specific to offer. That means that the soft side, the dealing with the customer, the service you offer, your relationship becomes even more important. General MacArthur was asked what were the reasons of your early defeat in the first part of the World War II, General. And the answer was, too late. Maybe the same thing is true when introducing our new products. Maybe we've introduced good new products, but perhaps they come in too late. Are we anticipating? Are we behind competition? Are we behind customers' expectations? 3M introduces 500 new products per year. Look at this computer. Today, it looks to us like a very modern device, extremely well designed. In 3 years' time, perhaps, the same machine will look to us obsolete, totally outdated, because at that time, we may have a computer that looks like today's telephone. Guarantees. Guarantees, Area 6.3, may be one of your most important sales tools in order to give customers security. But the guarantee must be meaningful. If you have to make a dinner speech and half an hour before the hotel tells you that your shirt has unfortunately been destroyed and they're offering you $25 in exchange, that doesn't meet your needs. But when they come up, as they did at the Sheraton in Buenos Aires, and present you with 2 new shirts from which you can choose and keep the other one, that's a way of making a guarantee meaningful. Quite often a guarantee is a description of the things you don't do or you refuse to comply with, which you write on the reverse side of your invoice, and it says what you don't guarantee. That's, of course, a rather obtuse way of making guarantees. Guarantees should express what you do, and it must be meaningful. It must be something where people feel secure. I buy from you, even if it is more expensive, because I have a guarantee that whatever happens, I'll be protected. And now let's turn to the fourth sub-area, and that deals with quotations and presentations. Regarding quotations, they are often just a very formal way of expecting an order. That is to say, you write in your terms, your stipulations, your specifications, etc., your price, the delivery, and so on, and you hope for an order. That, of course, is not a sales tool. A verbal presentation is so much more effective than a written one that your written quotation must be much, much better than it usually is. Where is the sales appeal, or rather the buying appeal? What do you start out with? You start out with what the customer wants, not what you're going to get. You tell the people of the benefits they get, and then you set the price, and then you repeat the benefits. And you insist on what action this offer is going to lead to. Don't write in there that you're hoping for the order, or that you're always at the service of your customer, or that you're ready to supply any more information that the customer needs. Those are just sugar-cut words. They mean nothing to the customer, and they mean nothing to you. So revamp your entire way of writing quotations. It must be even better than a verbal sales presentation by your salespeople. And one more thing, when your salespeople make a presentation, verbal presentation to customers, especially at a new context, they usually start out with the wrong thing. They start out telling the customer about their own company, about the resources the company has, about its outlets, about the age of the company, about the capital it has, about the people it employs, etc. That is of no interest to the customer. To remember the saying, what's in it for me? There's nothing in it for the customer. That you can distribute on a piece of paper or a brochure. Concentrate your presentation on developing together with your customer the requirements your customer has. What is it you want? What is it you are looking for? What is it you value? What is it you like? What is it you wouldn't like? And let's do it together. In that way, you create a dialogue. You create an interlope with your customer where he participates in you. And your salespeople will feel so much more comfortable, and they'll be much more successful. The one-way monologue presentations are stuff from the 19th century. don't have a chance in the competition nearing the year 2000. Modernize, completely update, innovate, completely change the way of making your verbal presentation. The seventh area is concerned with your way of tying your customers to you so the relationship becomes longer than just one transaction. What do we do in order to tie our customers to us? Area number 7, for becoming an excellent company. We all have positive and negative examples. Let's start with the positive one. You all have, like I have, a lot of VIP cards. Cars that tie us to a company, airlines do that, hotels do that. They give you special favors because with those favors you are likely to return to that company. You have also participated in frequent flyers actions whereby you get points every time you use an airline, and perhaps that helps the airline to make you fly with them even though it may be an inconvenience from a point of view of timetable. Hotels do the same thing. They give you award cards by which you get free weekends. If you go there 7 times or 8 times, you have a free weekend. Another way has been used by a company that sells trucks and parts, truck parts. They give these VIP cards not to the big shots, not to the top executives like you. They give it to the drivers because the drivers are their real customers. And if a driver wants to buy something somewhere, he'll do so. And if he doesn't like it, he'll find 1,000 reasons why he wouldn't do so. Another way has been handled or is being practiced at Brussels Airport. There's a taxi company that sells you a round trip from Brussels Airport to the town and back at any time with a 25% discount. Therefore, and you don't have to worry about finding a taxi on your way out, which may come in quite handy on a Friday afternoon when it's very difficult to find a taxi. So there are so many ways of tying customers to you that one is sometimes surprised to see some negative example, which really means that some companies don't do anything. Let's assume that this is your third car of the same car. Many of you buy, as I do, the same car or the same make of a car, new models, etc., for the second, third, or fourth time. We have made a survey of participants in big seminars with 900, 1,000 people in Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo, etc., and I have asked the following question. When you bought your third car from the same company, did you get any kind of a nice little letter, or a flower to your wife, or a souvenir, or a little extra that you can put on your car? And the return was amazing. It was devastating. We didn't even get a 1% return on the question, what did the car companies do to recognize their only source of capital and income, that is a customer buys and buys and buys again. So there's a source of income and a source of tying customers to you as a future source of income, which is badly neglected. Just think what you can do in order to make 0.7 an area in which you score not only 3 points, but perhaps 4 points, maybe even 5 points. The 8th area, can you make your customers sell for you? Their friends, agents to sell for you, people you know, your own friends, in order to multiply the effectiveness of your sales. Of all the restaurants that don't accept diners' card when they go there and promise that they will take action to make these restaurants accept diners' cards. Within 1 month, in this small country, which only has about 5 million inhabitants, they got 100 leads back, over 100 addresses of restaurants and other similar outlets which were not yet affiliated with Diners Club, and that gave them the possibility to make them appear. Another example, in a company that sells computers, the secretary phones the secretary of customers and finding out what kind of computer equipment they are using. And that either leads directly to a sale or at least to a question which says, are you satisfied with your present equipment? What would you like to have in the future with regard to a better equipment? This information is passed on to the salespeople. The third example from Paris, one of the most spectacular and famous hotels in the world, the Plaza Athénée, invites every year all the taxi drivers in Paris to a visit to the hotel and also a free meal, which is a great undertaking because there are thousands of taxi drivers. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And then, of course, when customers, travelers arrive from the airport and they don't really know where to go, the taxi driver has a real incentive to make them go to the Plaza Athénée. Think about what you can do to make others sell for you, because that way you multiply the effect of your sales effort. You can never achieve the same thing with your salespeople alone. Sales is far too important a business to be left to only salespeople. Not only the whole company can participate, but even friends, agents, suppliers who have an interest to supply to you, therefore also an interest that you're faring well, that you're doing well. All these people can do something for you. Just use a little bit of your creativity, rate yourself where you are now, and also put a little mark where you want to be within the next 3 months, because that's what it is all about. Not just rating yourself, is what action are you going to take in order to be more effective in this and other areas. Oh, I can see you all worrying, and I think we have good reasons to worry in your company, because if you do not fulfill the 4 questions under number 9, what incentives do we give our customers for more better orders, automatic orders, profitable orders, faster payments, we are not going to be in business. And as your consultant to your company, let me suggest it to you. This is the basis of survival of your company. If you don't get automatic orders and you have to fight for every new order, that will cost you so much money and so much effort that after 6 months you will be completely exhausted. There will be no more companies. You must see to it that you get automatic orders. So what are the incentives for people to order automatically? What can you do in order that people not only buy when you ask them to buy, but that they automatically, spontaneously order from you? Number 2, how do you make sure that you get more rebuys? That makes repeat orders. Getting a first order is fine. Getting a second order is better. Getting a third order from the same customer is excellent. So what will you do in order to get repeat orders? What is the incentive for a customer to give you the next order and not go somewhere else? That can be a material incentive. It can be an emotional incentive. Both could work in different ways. Number 3, what do you do to get more profitable orders? Because getting orders is fine, but not all orders are profitable. In many companies, almost 1/3 of the orders that the company gets are not profitable. They are marginally, perhaps just a little surplus, but not really. Not more than 2/3. In one case, out of 3, it's only half of the orders that come in that are profitable. So what do we do in your company to give incentives to people who give you profitable orders and avoid getting orders that cost you more money than what you get in the way of turnover, in the way of revenue? And number 4, how do you get faster payments? Because everything you get 1 week earlier that has been calculated by transport companies over the year, every payment over the year that your company gets in 1 week earlier means millions. The count is between $1 and $3 million extra per year income just because you get payments 1 week earlier. Now, there are various ways of doing this. Insurance companies have a very smart way of doing this. They all pay insurance, And usually we pay it at the end of the month of December because the new period starts, on the 1st of January. Some insurance companies send out the invoice on the 30th of September. They don't say you have to pay immediately, but the fact is that 12 to 15% of the customers pay before the 15th of December. 12 or 15% of the customers pay before the 15th of December. Let's just say they get money in already September, October, November, December. You can just imagine in your company, especially our financial officer, what that means in the way of cash flow. So use all these, rate yourself on this issue, and try and find ways to create incentives to get more automatic orders, more repeat orders, more profitable orders, and faster payments. You have been wondering what I was doing turning my back to you. In fact, you didn't know what I was doing. And in most companies, management doesn't know what the salespeople are doing when they're outside, except for the results, which means that we must know much more about activities and not just look at results. Have we made, as of number 10, have we made a systematic sales success scrutiny to determine our key approaches for market results? Because you can get market results in various ways. For instance, it was a long time it was thought that you had to make personal visits in order to achieve. Today, telephone marketing has become a very effective sales instrument, by which, of course, you can reach many more people than by personal visits. Now, what does Internet have for us for the future? What will Internet do for the things that we normally do now? Perhaps it will completely revolutionize the situation between the sales organization and customers. Already now, 5% of some business areas, business is done via Internet. Another thing, you all have seen, some of you have, cellular phones. In the United States, they give you a cellular phone for $1 because they know once you have that phone, you use it. And in other countries, they even give it away for nothing because the money is not made on the phone. The money is made on the phone call. And so another example, the Otis company selling lifts, selling elevators. They could almost give away, they say they could, but they don't, give away elevators if they get 5 years contracts. And the contracts are sometimes bound by law, so they are pretty sure that they get additional or the basis of their business through the service contract and through nothing else. Find out what is determining for your sales success. Maybe you have to give away something, little bit, in order to get something more in the second phase. Find out what produces sales results. If you find out that one means the sales visits are too expensive to produce sales results, perhaps you have the wrong salespeople. So you may have to hire better salespeople. But the whole question of your distribution pattern comes under scrutiny when you have determined what is best, what is most cost-effective, and what will in the future be your best way of reaching customers. Create yourself a new score on point number 10. Give yourself the score that you presently deserve, and then make a plan of how you would improve that, so in the future you will reach a number 4, perhaps even a number 5. Then we have the area of quality. The only definition of quality that is valid is the customer's perception of quality. Not what we think and not what the manufacturer or any kind of institute or third person would believe or would judge to be quality. The customer determines quality. What he thinks is quality is quality. Sometimes he doesn't want to pay for a higher quality. In many cases, Japanese cars don't have or didn't have the high quality of American cars or European cars. but they were satisfactory, and people bought them because they were convenient. They didn't need more quality. Or please try and define the quality of jeans. Normally, your children, perhaps yourself, have jeans, and the untidier they look, the older they look, the more bleak they look, probably the more you like them. So what is quality in jeans? What is quality in perfume? Who can define what the good quality is in perfume? So there are various ways in which you can raise this question, but remember, it's the customer who decides what quality is. And remember also, you don't win on just quality, but you can lose on just quality. So it doesn't necessarily give you orders, but if you don't fulfill customer expectations, you may lose orders. And now some of the things that you may want to do, 4 pragmatic actions to avoid overmarketing. Number 1, you must determine the real transaction price. What does every transaction, what does it cost you? When you have to add all the extra trouble, the extra delivery, the extra waiting, the late payment by the customer, the different changes you must introduce, the sales cost you have, all of that affects your price. And unfortunately, many companies cannot identify these differences in prices. You must, if you don't want to become unprofitable. Then there is the so-called Pareto or 80-20 rule. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Therefore, you must find out who your key customers are, because they give you 4 times more business than the others who only are 1/4 of the number of people. So out of 100 customers, you usually, from 80 customers, you only get 20% of your business. From 20% of your customers, or 20 customers, you get 80% of your business. What is important to you are not the 80% of the people, but the 20% of the people. And another thing in that connection, you cannot be perfect. And when you talk about 100% quality, maybe from 80 to 100 costs you so much money that it isn't worth spending. And finally, make it, and that's my rule for marketing, really rule number 1. And it is not sophisticated, it is not textbook style, it is not doctoral, it is not a guru definition, it is very easy and very practical. Just consider marketing as nothing else but, quote, easy to buy from, unquote. If you make it easy to buy from you in every respect, then you don't have to worry about anything else. So take some time to get your rating down on paper on this issue of over-marketing, and watch it, and also on the steps you're going to take in order to avoid that kind of lost business or that kind of unprofitable way of doing business. We're coming to the last of our 12 chapters on the effectiveness of your sales and marketing organization, but it's by no means the least important one. Question: can you use your best resources, your best human resources, where they are most needed? Number 1, how good are your human resources? If your product and your marketing is good, maybe those of your competitors is equally good. That's possible. But hopefully, your human resources are much superior to that of your competitors. But then you must also be able to put them into place where they are most needed. So is your organization in a position to be sufficiently flexible to put, for instance, your best salesperson for a peculiar, specific sales job into an area of somebody else's territory, and can you have him work there in order to achieve that sale? Where do you go when you have really a difficult, tricky task to achieve? Then you must be able to mobilize those people who can bring home that order, which perhaps the normal salesperson can't do. That's an organizational flexibility problem which you must use. But remember, if everything is equal, it's usually the human element that will make the difference. Now, once you have made your score on this last point, you will have made scores on 12 different chapters. The maximum points you can get is 12.5, which means 5 points on each one of the 12 chapters, and you would reach 60 points. Now, if you would actually reach 60 points, you should forget everything you heard here and everything you know from everybody else. You have just got to worry about your own eternal life. Normally, a score between 51 and 60, perhaps you take notes of that, is something that is not possible to achieve. That is too much to be asked for. If you are between 41 and 50, you can say truthfully that you are an excellent marketing organization. If you are between 31 and 40, you're still good. If your score is 21 to 30, you're just acceptable and you must improve in order to survive in tomorrow's world. If you are only reaching 11 to 20 points, you're really bad. And hopefully you're going to get help to get out of this mess. Between 1 and 10, either what has been said is not relevant for you or you're non-existent in that area. That is very unlikely. As unlikely as you may reach that you reach 51 to 60 points, it's unlikely you only will reach 1 to 10. You'll be somewhere in between. And if you reach a score between 31 to 40, you can relax, you're good. There, it's easy to go for better and become very good. But if you're just acceptable between 21 and 30 points, then it needs action. And most companies are in that area. The best companies that I know are in the 41 to 45 points area. And if you want to reach there, it means a lot of courage and a lot of determination. And remember, there's just one thing that counts. Just do it.